this want to implement this created job and all of the details that come with it. Because I tell you what, uh, before we can make a move on something like that, we should be educating ourselves. Why is it that it is relevant if we have not had this position, and and who's coming up with the recommendation that we should have such a thing? And so I'm just prying in, trying to figure out, is it necessary? Because that's another cost expense to the city, and we need to know more details about it, and, as opposed to sitting amongst our council people trying to decipher what the heck are you talking about, that kind of thing. So that's where I'm going with this, and I don't know what my colleagues are going to do. But the thing about it is, I just want to hear the mindset of the people in our council and where they're at in trying to open positions that we had not even known that it was going to be put on the agenda. That's the whole thing that I'm looking at. So um, uh, I yield to, I yield.
Okay. Attorney Zio, you had your hand up. Did you have a response from
Joy
Mr.
had her
Sanders?
hand, Joy had her hand up
I
first.
thought maybe he had a response for Mr. Sanders. Is
I-
that what you?
So the only comment that I have right now, and this is just a procedural item right now, so as to what we can discuss tonight, okay? So at the last city council meeting, the council voted to not move forward with the utility superintendent position, okay? If you guys want to talk about that position again, then the appropriate process is to have a motion to reconsider at the next city council meeting, which would be next Tuesday there. And if the vote is to, and that motion has to be made by someone who was on the prevailing side, meaning the people that voted down the utility superintendent position. Someone can make a motion to reconsider that. If that's seconded and that motion to reconsider passes, then you guys can start having the discussion about whether or not we should have a utility superintendent or not. My understanding in the conversation with Mr. Clem about when he asked to have this item put on the agenda was to not necessarily, that would be the process to talk about the utility superintendent. His intent with this topic tonight is, given the fact that the council voted down the utility superintendent position, what's our plan B? If the utility superintendent was plan A, that was voted down, what's our plan B? That's the topic for tonight, not a topic about, should we have the utility superintendent? If you guys want to do that, that needs to be a motion to reconsider at the next council meeting. Tonight should be about plan Bs. And if you don't have plan Bs and want to talk about going back to plan at the next city council meeting.
Alderperson Sellers?
Yes, I just wanted, and kind of like what Seto said, I would like to have more discussion on it, but then that way some of the questions that I'm getting to get an answer for, then I can discuss those later. But right now, my plan B would be, is there anyone right now that is either the superintendent or the director right now who's running the show?
That's me.
Oh, okay. So is there, I know you have somebody on your brain right now for that. So I was just wondering, we do a lot of the interns or, just somebody doing it for a while until we can either get it out there in the world, in the universe, and see if we can get some applicants. That would be my plan B, is to just have whoever you have in mind to do it for a while until we can get somebody that is qualified and that can be a director instead of the superintendent. That would be my recommendation.
Mr. Clem or Alderperson Clem had his hand up after Sellers.
Lawyer Zito, just a question, can I discuss anything on, since the utility director position has been voted down, okay, and has to be brought up, can the other position be talked about at all that's existing?
The existing position,
Yes,
I think, about filling the existing position.
Like to
Well,
replace Mr. Kapansky in that position.
I think that, yeah, that would be option B. That would be a form of an option B. Yes, I think you can bring that up.
So in that case, I can't really discuss it, so I won't say anything, you know, so. No, you know, don't want to break the rules.
Right.
I'm sorry, so you meant he can discuss it?
And I apologize, Alderman Clemmons, maybe I misunderstood. There is an existing position as written right now.
Right now, there's an existing position open that's worth $95,000 that we had a director in. Can I talk about that position?
Utility director, you mean?
Correct. Right, that's called the utility director position. You can talk about that.
Just to maybe give you a little backup here that might help, okay? We had a director in that position that we paid big bucks to that didn't have the licensing. We paid to have his licensing. We paid to have Farrah Graham go through and have that licensing, so we were able to be legal.
Yeah.
Now, if we go out, since these other people have been licensed for that position, it doesn't seem peculiar, but it's extra money being spent for somebody with a certain license that we've already got. And that's, you know, kind of just to try and simplify it here, so.
Alderperson Sanders.
Yeah, can I ask you who that individual were?
His first name was Tom
What's his last name?
Kapinski. He was here after Tom Glendenning, and he replaced him. And we worked for a matter of months under Tom Glendenning's license till he could finally qualify and pass the license.
And so, who do we have in place currently? Have we looked at his credentials yet?
At his, I don't know.
But anyway, yeah, but by all means, we definitely have to look into this, even this Part B, whatever the case may be. We definitely got to get our heads together and see what the best options are, you know.
Alderperson Stacy.
Yes. As far as utility director, if we would have had someone with a license in place, the last position the fairground received would not have even have been needed because we would have had someone in place. So rather than demote it, take it down, I think we need to get information out there with what we're looking for in a director that can come fully loaded. We don't know what's out there because we haven't searched. And not cut ourselves short and split duties in half when we can get one person that's equipped to do it all.
Mayor Miller.
So I guess my question would be, Manager Boyer, do you believe that it's necessary to have that licensed person? Or is it better for your day-to-day being a supervisory position because your license is sufficient?
Thank you, Mayor. Just to, we can get into the high weeds as far as all the different licenses. I'm a Class A water operator and I'm a Class 4 wastewater operator. We currently have 3 Class 1 wastewater operators on staff, and we have several Class B or higher water treatment operators. The Director of Public Utilities job description not only calls for a 4-year degree, but it also calls for both of those licenses. Now, just in general, if you have both of those licenses, you can pretty much go anywhere and make well north of $100,000.
Yes, they can.
So the trouble is, what we're trying to do is create a path forward for some of the folks that work in the rank and file, that understand the system, know the personalities, and have the skills and ability to run the day-to-day operations of the plant. And I feel like it's in the best interest of the utility not to bring a brand new person from the outside, but do what we can to move people from the inside into positions, because they do the work every day and they know it better than anyone else. And if they have the skills, knowledge, and ability to do the job, I'd like to give it to them first.
I want to make a motion.
Okay, before you motion,
Listen.
Alderperson Sellers.
I totally agree with you with getting people from within, but we also have to look at, I mean, it sounds good, but we brought you in and you weren't from here. You know, we brought Bucas in, he wasn't from here. Well, I mean, we bring it. Will you let- yeah, okay, well, leave me alone. But I still think that we need to know, I know, I don't want to call out names, but I know the name of this person that you want to get this job from, and there's complaints on that. But that's my position, and that's what people are coming to me saying, you know, it's not fair in that way. And I don't want to bust nobody out, but I'm just also saying that, yeah, it sounds good, oh, we want to get that, but we also know, I think we got the community development from, you know, you came in from somewhere, you weren't from Freeport, he wasn't from within, so we can't use that line.
Nope.
So I'd rather use the line that I want to get somebody qualified and somebody that's going to do the job that we know that's going to be there. I'd rather for that to be said than to say we're trying to use who is within, and we know who that person is within. So that's my conversation.
You have a response from Ms. Sellers?
I do. This is one of the issues regarding getting involved in the back and forth within the rank and file. I just wanted to mention there is no conclusion. There is no one pre-selected. However, I have worked with people in the city well enough to understand their skills and abilities. So, yes, anyone is welcome to apply, and they will all be reviewed impartially. However, when individuals show leadership, when they show ability to communicate orally and written, they have a demonstrated good rapport with various individuals throughout the system, and we're coming into a challenge right now specifically about the water distribution and collection system. Our foreman has been here for 43 years. We need someone that knows how to work with him, and also to be able to train up new folks on how to operate out there in the field. So all are welcome to apply, and I am willing to review them impartially. And but I want to let you know we have some challenges that an outside person will struggle to contend with.
Alderperson Sanders?
Wow. I heard a little biases in that whole comment and statement that you guys were making. It was unfair from the start of the whole scenario of the hiring practice. Now you're reversing your thought about that now because of the fact that it's being opened up now to the public or anyone that is really qualified. This can't be an expedition of personal kind of, how do I want to say, a nepotism that is flowing throughout our system. And we can find it. We know where it is. But the thing about it is we're not pointing fingers at individuals that is practicing this kind of practice. And I like to give ourselves a fair warning. Those kinds of attitudes, and I chose this, I chose that. But the council has to vote on these things, even the creations of jobs and things of this nature. We can go along with the idea of what you're proposing and producing. We can go along with but it give us enough time to evaluate what it is that you're proposing. And it cannot sound like there was a bias or nepotism. I don't know why I use that word, but I like it anyway. But we shouldn't be putting that out there as though some of us are ignorant to the fact that things are being said and done, that we're not going to search it out and look it up and find out what the real deal is. And so the only thing I'm just saying is, when things like that happen, you must inform us with the thought that we can prescribe great ideas as well. All of our council people can prescribe that. We don't want one individual doing it for us. I told you one time at one point, you can't do everything by yourself. That's what I told you. I said, because we have to be able to help you help us. I'm not trying to give you a lecture, but I'm just trying to refresh your memory. My thing is, we have to know what it is that you know, not at the council meeting, sitting here right now discussing this kind of matter, because it can kind of piss somebody off, and we don't want to send that kind of environment within our council. So what I'm saying is, let's bring it out now because we're talking about it. We're in the next council meeting or whatever the case is, we need to make a motion to bring this back up again or something of that nature. Because it's not, I hear unfairness just took place within my ear scope. And as I analyze that, the opportunity was not afforded to us as council members. And so we need to restructure those thought patterns of how we like to go forward at this point in time. So I'm just a little old me hearing things that I shouldn't be hearing.
Thank you, Mr. Sanders. Alderperson Stacy.
Yes. You say that anyone can apply, but there's nothing out there. There's nothing has been put out there to apply to. Then, upon knowing the description, the requirements, the needs of this position, we became busy with trying to lower the qualifications so we can put an uneducated person in place. Now, a person that works for the city already, a person that gets along with people, a person that knows certain things that need to be known. A person that's your neighbor. I'm just going to put it out there because we have to be fair with our endeavors. We can't say it's open to the public, it's open to everyone, when indeed it's not. We don't know what we will find in the original requirements if we don't even seek to find. There's all kind of doors out there we won't even knock because we have a certain person that we really want that don't have the qualification as a director. So let's lower it down to, yeah.
Okay, Alderperson
Parker,
Parker.
not Clem Parker.
Yeah. I'll hold
I just
off.
want to say that ultimately Rob is responsible for whoever he puts in. So if that person they put in is bad, screws up, mix up bad, it reflects right onto Rob. So we have to trust Rob in picking the right person to cover his own butt, because he's the one that's responsible. So, that's it.
We have,
Clem, did you have your hand up?
Yes.
Then you, Miss Stacy.
Very well said, Stacy, but Alderman Stacy. But along the same line, at this time, we're sitting there looking at a position that we don't necessarily need those qualifications for. So why are we spending $30,000 a year, or $27,000 a year extra? It's already been proven in the past, if we need that licensing, all you gotta do is call up Fairgram and the licensing is there. What we're trying to do is reduce a position to fit what we need at this time. That's all I'm saying. I believe that's where we're at. And we can't vote, and we can't put anyone in that position until you make that position available. Right now, that position doesn't exist.
Saw you, Rob. She had her hand. Just
you're saying reduce a position that if we had someone with the director title, with a license, we wouldn't be paying $100,000 out to Fairground to cover it. But
pay
we
it to
want to
them.
talk about less money. Less money. If we would have had things in order, we wouldn't have had to hire Fairground back in under a different title to cover something that must be covered. I know City Manager Boyer needs help. I'm just saying, come correct to everybody, for everybody.
Manager Boyer.
Thank you, Alderwoman. Quite frankly, I proposed this suggestion. It is basically a change of the ordinance to change the title from utility director to utility superintendent. My preference is to hire someone from within the organization who is familiar with the people, the process, and the system. Freeport is a small community overall, and there are a number of people that I consider my neighbors that I also supervise. However, that is not the point. The point is, qualified, we need to make it so that we have an opportunity to not only retain them in the organization and benefit from their knowledge and experience, but we also need to send the message that if you work for the city and you do a good job, the city will move you into positions of responsibility when it can, so it will help us in our retainment of talented people. So there seems to be inference in this particular case, but as I mentioned, I am only looking for a change in this particular ordinance related to the title of the job. However, the qualifications of that title can also be changed. So as far as I'm concerned, I hear what's being said here, and I feel that it is my role as the city manager to run the day-to-day operations and deal with the personnel selections. I am simply asking for council's cooperation in doing it correctly.
Jeff. He had his hand up first. Sorry. Attorney
So-
Vito.
So ultimately, again, I just want to bring this back to what's the question that's at hand on this agenda item right now is either if you guys want to start talking about option A again, which is the utility superintendent, then that would be at the next city council meeting via a motion to reconsider. If someone wants to make a motion with an option B, which is what can be done here tonight, then that motion can be made as well with, a suggestion, and we'll take a vote and see how that that plays out as far as an option B goes. Otherwise, we'd just be, if the consensus is saying, you know what, we'd rather talk about the utility superintendent position, creating that, then that needs to be at the next city council meeting via a motion to reconsider. So however the council wants to move forward.
I have a question for attorney. How do we make a motion for option B when we don't know what option B
Is,
even consists of?
And I think that's why Alderman Clem brought this topic up, was to see, does anyone, if the council voted down option A, what are we doing? You know, is it, do we know an option B? Or is it maybe you direct staff to come up with option Bs and bring those back to us? That's a possibility for you guys to make a motion to that effect. We don't know what option B is, but staff, can you come up with some option Bs and present those to us?
Oh, I'm sorry, you had a follow-up? Alderperson Stacy, you had a follow-up or not?
I make a motion that we take more time and consider what an option B
well,
could be
Yeah.
and what it would look like.
absolutely.
So would that be an instruction to staff to come up with potential option Bs then?
When you say staff, are we speaking of Mr. Boyer?
He would be included in staff, you know, anyone that he would need to reach out to.
So you made a motion. Alderperson Sanders, you had your hand up. Did you have another question, or were you seconding her motion?
Yeah, when people are making motions like that, the floor had not been cleared, that the discussion was shut down or whatever, and then I can lose train of thought when that is happening. And I'm assuming that that's the direction we was headed because you made a motion. But I see that's not the case. But the thing about it is, I'm trying to retain my thought process here because I had something very important to say in regards to position that is being presented here at this council. It doesn't exist. There's no finite description for the proposal. First of all, a plan B or option B or whatever the case is. So we can't be making motions on something that doesn't exist. I'm trying to hear the intelligence from that. How could you make motions and it don't even exist? The job description of it. We're sitting here right now at the current time of making this option relevant. That has no that has no description to it. And so I'm just trying to find out, why are we going through these motions if we have not defined what it is we're making motions on? That's what I'm trying to get to. Make things make sense. And this is not making sense to me. So that's the reason why I asked.
I think Attorney Zito had her.
So procedurally right now, regardless of whether or not people still had questions, a motion was made by Alderman Stacy. Right, so there is a motion on the floor. I do not believe there is a second to that motion at this time.
Okay, all right.
So if there's no second to that motion, then that motion would fail, and then you could continue discussion.
Okay.
That's probably on me, but yes. Just a second, Alderperson Sellers. Manager Boyer had something to say before.
Thank you, Alderman Sellers. Yes, both job descriptions were provided. I'm sorry. Sorry about that. Both job descriptions were provided in the council packet. That outlines the differences between the utility director and what the utility superintendent would do versus what we had in the past. So, just so you know, you can have a look at that.
And sorry, again, I don't mean to belabor this, but we have a motion on the table. So before we go into further discussion, we should address that. So if there's no second for it, then that motion will die. So I think at this time, we need to know whether or not there's a second to Alderman Stacy's motion.
Let's clarify the motion.
Yes.
The motion was to ask Manager Boyer for a Plan B. Am I correct in what your motion was, Alderperson Stacy?
Yes, but I blindly said that, not knowing what Plan B is or what it looked like, is what I said.
I'll second it.
Okay, so there's a motion and a second to instruct city staff to come up with Plan Bs. So right, no one knows what Plan B is right now, and you're not voting on what Plan B is. It's just coming up with potential options for what Plan Bs could be.
Right.
There.
Okay, and okay.
This is really pretty plain and simple. Really simple, okay? It comes down to the fact that Mr. Boyer's put somebody forward, and tonight on the table, it's been brought up that he's supposedly got somebody in the bag that's gonna do this, and that we should go for the directorship. You know, it's simple. You guys either take and vote, two of you to move forward, to take a look at the position of directorship, or basically what we've done is said to the senior member of the Freeport City, for the Freeport City, that we don't support him in his thing, and we can come forward with something else. Huh? Excuse me?
I think you mean as a superintendent,
As a super,
Not as
excuse me,
director.
As a superintendent, yes. I mean, we either need to bring it forward and talk about it, or you need to leave it go die and figure out what's gonna happen. But here's a guy trying to fill a position that you're paying 150 grand a year for, and he's sitting there going, hama, hama, hama. Sorry.
Can I?
Alderperson Stacy?
Yeah, I hear your passion, Alderman Clem, but that's not a decision that you can impress upon people without their own sentiments about how their own personal opinion. And you're trying to tell us it's just as simple as it can be when we never even heard of this. I'm trying to get it through. When we have not heard about this position and its job description, its relevancy, and how do we exploit that? We have not had that opportunity, but you can't force opinions as if though everything is simple from your perspective. You can't impose that up on any other council person. So that's all I'm saying, because your tactic is impress upon people and to be in favor to something simple. We don't adhere to something simple. These things have to be thought out, studied, evaluated. There's a whole list of variables I can use, but the point is you have to let us make that decision, because you're imposing your views kind of strong, and I don't think that is fair.
Alderperson Clem, have a week.
I understand your opinion, okay? We all have opinions, okay? Keep in mind, you had this, both descriptions, a couple weeks ago. You voted it down. We've sit here and talked for about 45 minutes. You know, it's like, what would you like to do? Please tell me what you like to do. That's all we're asking for. You know, if you don't want the position, for God's sake, just say so. You know, we don't have to belabor it for 4 hours. If you got a reason you don't like this guy, say you don't like this guy. Just that simple.
Alderperson Stacy.
Attorney, if I was to rescind my motion, where do that leave us?
Well, there's been a motion and it's been seconded.
Okay.
So if you would have pulled it back before the second happened, it would have been a different story there. But at this point, I think it's probably be appropriate to just vote on the motion that's hand, see how the chips fall, and depending how that turns out, we go from there.
Okay.
All right, great. So we have a motion that's been brought by Alderperson Stacy, seconded by Alderperson Clem. Let's take that to a vote. All in favor? Aye.
Well, why don't we go ahead and,
Roll call.
let's go to a roll call. And Madam Clerk, could you just repeat the motion so that everyone knows what the motion is?
I have that the motion is to direct city staff to develop option B, or options, plural.
Okay. Yep, so you can take the roll call.
Oh, sorry. Simmons,
Aye.
Parker,
No.
Stacy,
Aye.
Shadle,
No.
Sanders,
No.
Sellers, Clem. 1, 2, 3, 4 ayes to 3 nays. The motion passes to develop one or more options B.
Okay, we have that voted. Oh,
Public comment.
public comments. Do we have any comments
Tommy, probably.
from the public?
we got
Yes, ma'am. Calling you Clem all night. Calling
First
you
thing
the
I'd
wrong
like to
name
do
all
is
night.
make a few suggestions. The first suggestion would be that individuals that come before this podium are required to tell us who they are, what their positions are within the city, as we as citizens are required to tell our names. I'm Wendy Pearson. The next suggestion I would like to make to the new founding alderman is for you to look into TIF dollars, how they've been spent and how they've been used. In regards to the garden, Dean Wright bought the plots of lands that he had from NHS for $1. I know because I was sitting on the board at the time, with the understanding that they would maintain and insure those lots. That's how they got those lots. Specifically, the one on Carroll in the 700 block. Specifically, the one on Iroquois by FACC. Specifically, the one in the 400 block of Carroll. Now, as in regards to individuals' usage of those lots, elderly individuals within our community were going out there picking the greens and the tomatoes, so it's beneficial when it was beneficial before Dean Wright and those guys just let it go astray. So, Joy, you're absolutely right, they did go astray. As far as the high school is concerned, we're looking at a $600 total cost where we have children that are placing themselves in a position to do a job to help secure the nutritional needs of this community. I want to know if the city council is willing to exempt them of all of this, and if so, are they going to be required to purchase the property? Those dollars coming from, and has anybody else at this city council, besides Ms. Stacy, have had a conversation with the school board on how this could be done? $600 is a big hunk of money, and I want to know if it's going to come out of my tax dollars that's going to the school. As far as the Adams Street corridor and Chicago Avenue is concerned, Stacy is absolutely right when she says that enough has been done downtown. TIF dollars have been used downtown. Where are the TIF dollars for the inside of the community? You said you've paved the streets. No, you've patched the streets. And every patch that has occurred each time you have patched has come into another hole because it wasn't patched well enough. There has not been any pavement. Let's go back to the pavement during the stimulus project for Obama that occurred on Empire. Not done correctly.
3 minutes are up. Thank
Empire is still one of the worst streets in town.
Thank you.
Short. Hi, my name is Pat Brown, and I was here because I'm curious about the lots in this city, the mowing of the lots. So I have a question. Is there a department in this city that takes care of lots? The mowing of the lots? Is there a department?
Attorney Zito, sorry.
So public comment is an opportunity for you to make your comment or ask your questions, but it's not a back and forth
Okay.
unnecessarily. But certainly, ask your questions. Staff will write down those questions, and the
Okay.
appropriate person will either talk to you after this meeting or get your phone number, do their research, and then get an answer back to you.
Wonderful. So can I make a comment?
Yep, go ahead.
The lots that I'm speaking of is over on Adams. My mother was like the person of the city. She had this beautiful home where all she had was flowers. Her address is 432 South Adams. The lots there are awful. Nobody is mowing them. They're terrible. So I'm just asking. So if anybody want to contact me, you can see me after this, but I just wanted to make that comment. They're awful.
Thank you. Come on down, please, Tom.
Going Dickerman. Let's get this Ivy going. People's telling us that.
I agree, Tommy.
And are you going to get a permit about it?
Yes, sir.
And Dwayne, Wayne, Wendy, we're going to miss you on the 30th. And you do a good job with city manager, and you did all the things you told to do, and we want to keep you there.
Thank you.
This next is adjournment.
Okay, so with no more public comments, adjournment, do I have a motion?
So move.
Moved by Sellers, seconded by Shado.
All in favor?
All in favor?